if you've noticed the title, this is a stream about nothing really. I just thought I'd talk and show you my new cool character. This is a Red Lantern. Red Lanterns I find quite interesting as characters because they're not fully villains, they're not fully heroes, they're sort of like anti-heroes, but I found the whole thing quite interesting when there was the big, I think it was Jeff Johns took over the whole thing, and he created the whole idea of the spectrum of lanterns, that you didn't just have green and yellow. You had
the ritual has begun.
What was it? Well, actually, you also had the sapphire, something sapphire, mauve or something like that. And it was all about love because she was a bit sort of obsessed with Hal Jordan. Why, I've got no idea, because Hal Jordan I always found probably the most boring of the Lantern characters. I was more of a fan of what's his name? John Stewart, particularly in the animated series. I found his character quite interesting. Often could be quite dry in humour as well, a little bit like what's his name? Hawkeye in the Avengers. You know, was serious, but when he made a joke, he was really funny. You know, didn't have it. Didn't had a sense of humour, but wasn't based around a sense of humour. Yeah, because my favourite Avenger,
Giganta has Wonder Girl.
not Avenger,
I must report
Justice
back.
League member, has always been the Green Arrow, because the Green Arrow is like street level, and I've always been a fan of heroes who don't actually have powers, they've got skills, and they, you know, they protect the little guy. Batman, the problem with Batman is, for a start, he's got too many enemies, and they get a bit boring and repetitive, and there's only so many times you can see a mob boss character again and again and again before they get really boring. No, mob bosses are okay, but when you've made the whole comic series around them, it can get a little bit tedious and repetitive. You know, my favourite Batman villain has always been the Scarecrow, because at least he has he has something that could be considered scary. A lot of them I just find are just sort of boring, and they go through the same motions as threatening the city, and Batman saves the day, and there's no real consequences. The only time I've ever seen a massive consequence in a Batman comic was when the Joker killed the second Robin. But then they brought him back years later, and I was like, oh, for crying out loud, can't someone die and stay dead? You know, and then they kill characters who you think, why did you kill him? Why couldn't you kept him alive? Like,
I tell you nothing.
Oh, what's his name? The Blue Beetle. I always liked the Blue Beetle. I like the second Blue Beetle. The first one was just plain weird, with so many ridiculous sort of abilities, and went through so many changes as well. If you know, when it was I can't remember the name of the comic company. It wasn't DC. DC bought their characters, and a lot of them had some pretty weird looks. I think it's Folsom, something like that. This comic firm who, well, the owner was a bit of a sort of a shark, and you know, he created stuff like a version of Superman who was blonde and had all of the colour round the opposite way. It was also the comic company that created Captain Marvel, who I'm a massive Captain Marvel fan, mainly because he's got such a cool disguise. You know, he turns into a little boy. I'm going back to the police station to sell some of this loot I've got. Yeah, Captain Atom was also one, and so was the Question. Again, the Question went through loads of different changes. The original character design he was based on was Mr. A. That was I can't remember the name of the comic firm. It was a Steve Ditko creation, who was an objectivist. Like, well, Ditko was a objectivist. A lot of his problems with Stan Lee supposedly stemmed from him not agreeing with sort of the 60s. He wasn't a liberal bloke, Steve Ditko. Yeah, and his views were pretty, well, objectivists see the world in black and white. There's you know, they don't see
I'm sure I have something here that can help you. Take a look.
Something that you can just get rid of by, well, they don't see a lot of things in colours. They see everything in black and white, and yeah, the big hoo-ha with Ayn Rand and objectivism, why it doesn't really work, it doesn't work for me, is that it's too black and white. It also praises capitalism too much. You know, capitalism can be good if it's managed, but completely free capitalism without any restraints is very bad. It destroys the natural world. Complete free capitalism, you would have a society which could condone slavery, and I'm not pro that at all. I'm actually quite against unfettered capitalism. I find it's a little bit sick. It comes from a sort of sickness of greed and an obsession with greed, and I don't think greed is good.
Hello, traveler.
I know that'll probably upset
Do you require mystical
any
equipment to
capitalists who
use
are
in
watching,
battle?
but I disagree that capitalism is beneficial to society. I think that it retards society, especially in film. you just look at the stuff that is piped out that is populist, and it's all shit. It's all shit to cash in and make a fast buck. It's what made me laugh last year the most about the whole what was it, Ghostbusters, how they made a big deal about feminism, and it wasn't about feminism at all. I had my suspicions when they first started talking in feminist terms. I thought, really, is that the reason why this dog turd of a movie, they're sort of going after anyone who criticises it? Is it purely for the reasons they're saying? And it wasn't in the end. It turned out that what they had was a turkey, as they say in cinema terms, and what they wanted to do was project this image that it was somehow not the film was bloody awful and no one would go and see it. Instead, their belief was that the reason why no one was going to see it was that they were sexist, and it basically came down to
Star
trying to
Lab's
guilt
goal is to
trip
keep
the
our
public
allies equipped with the most advanced technologies.
Keeping your equipment in good working order makes all the difference, as well as making sure you've got the latest, greatest gear.
And I went to see it, and I wasn't impressed at all. I thought it was boring. I thought that it was humourless, which is really disappointing if you're a Ghostbusters fan, because the first two movies, well, actually I always found the humour in the second movie a little bit more funny. There's a brilliant bit where there's been a fire where they were developing the photos, and with the Carpathian bloke, and oh Christ, what's it? My memory's a bit choppy. I just finished a 12-hour shift. Yeah, Dana's going out to dinner with Peter Venkman, and the boys all arrive wearing all this sort of like they're going to go into a sewer gear, and they're just about to get into a taxi. Oh no, they're just about to go out, and I think it's Ray says, oh, we found this slime thing, and a river of slime in a picture underneath the street. Come on, we got to suit up and go there right now. And Peter turns around to Dana and says, the guys who've found slime stuff. And Egon thinks it will cause a massive rise in the cockroach population. Do you want to miss this dinner date and go with them? And Dana just basically raises her hand and says, taxi! And Peter turns round to him and says, women, huh? And I think it's probably one of the funniest lines in the whole film. I love it. I love that sort of humour where you know, it has a point to it. It's not just sort of slapstick crap. My biggest problem with the Ghostbusters movie, as well as not being very funny,
Can you help me test out my theory?
it made the women in it look really stupid. They weren't like effective at all. They were completely ineffective. I thought it damaged the movie. It made the women look weak and stupid. And they kept breaking into dance. And I was like, what the fuck's this about? I found that, you know, the I can't remember what her name is. Big black lady. I know she had a big argument. Leslie Jones, that's it. She had a big argument with Milo.
Keep still.
And I couldn't understand why they had to make her character such a racial character. You know, not a template.
Stay down.
Just you know, the most sort of crappy Big Mama's house type bullshit.
Blood Priest Chronicle. Once merely an artifact.
You know, and they catch a ghost, and then they let the fucking thing go. And then the film doesn't make any sense then, because, I've forgotten his name. Bill Murray. Bill Murray's character, who Bill Murray looked just completely, what am I doing this for? Why am I involved in this pile of shit? Yeah, to prove that the ghosts are real. And he falls out of a window and dies, but no one's questioned about it. And I was like, that's just stupid. Yeah, Red Letter Media did a whole thing about the Ghostbusters movie, and it pretty much covered everything that I'm talking about, because I was really disappointed. I thought you've got so much opportunity to make a really good film and you make absolute dog turd. Really unforgivable dog turd as well. When I consider how that's the one. Load out. Eye blasts there. Nice. Just everything about the Ghostbusters movie, a lot of it didn't make any sense. It had an antagonist that you knew nothing about it. They seem to have engineered him halfway through to make him into some sort of fanboy. But that didn't make any sense because well, the whole thing just didn't make any sense at all. It seemed to be completely obsessed with its sort of navel gazing stuff. Because, well, actually, a lot of people have said that the original Ghostbusters movie was a pro-capitalism, small business sort of story. But this didn't have any of that. It had a character in it who was so unbelievably stupid that it couldn't be real. It just didn't make any sense. In I can't remember the name of the character at all. I can't remember because the character was just so totally ludicrous that none of it made any sense. Player. I had a go at Gorilla Island the other day. It was really good. Oh, and I just crashed into something. Right, roll. I'll be the damage man. I'm your Buddha man. I had some weird Twitter arguments earlier. I had a Twitter argument with a bloke who used to be known as Edgy Sphinx, and oh Jesus Christ, what a load of shit! What an absolute load of bloody stupid shit he was going on about. Just, ugh. Ugh. You know, I'm not a huge fan of Ian Miles Chong. I find a lot of his journalism to be tabloid twaddle, but basically they were taking the mickey out of him because of his name, because he's an Asian man. And I was like, well, no. You can argue with someone on their ideas, and I have argued with Ian Miles Chong on his ideas, because I think that he makes points about the left that are just untrue, that there are exaggerations, that not all the left are communists or SJWs. I know I'm not.
Prepare to take a beating from the unstoppable Captain Cruel.
But you know, you argue a person on their views, not be like a playground where you pick on someone because of their race or nationality or well, just it's pathetic. But I find most of the alt-right pretty pathetic. You know, they don't seem to have anyone involved who
No, I need the money they were going to pay
actually
me for
speaks with any sort of intelligence. It all seems to be nothing but it seems to be a race to the moronic, much like the sort of broski culture thing. Well, in the UK we've got that with football fans, soccer fans, with you know, when you've got an event on, like a football match, not a soccer match. I've seen a load of them in my job in the transport industry. They seem to go out of their way to be the more moronic. they'll yell and they make a load of noise. They seem like chimpanzees. But it seems to be a race towards being the most obtuse and stupid. It's not really a rush to any sort of semblance of intelligence or charm. It also sees women as sort of most base.
The society.
I consider it as a form
Brainiac
of
enough to
female
feign cooperation
hatred.
with us. But I knew they lied like a snake in the grass.
I'm
And
no
Luthor,
feminist,
its
I'm an
head.
egalitarian. But I do think that some women do get the shitty end of the stick in their societies. I'd say, personally, I think the worst societies for women are definitely the Muslim society, especially the Middle East. Also, any society that's got a large amount of poverty, women seem to be the ones who suffer the worst. Because, you know, they have, usually in a poor society, to stay in charge, so the government will put in more and more ridiculous laws. Like, I think it was Bolivia recently put in a law saying that if a woman's caught with signs that she's had an abortion, they actually treat her body as like a crime scene, and she's completely removed of any rights, and it's classed as murder, which is totally ridiculous. I'm a firm believer in body autonomy. I think that people should have the right to do with their bodies what they want, not have some cynical old men who basically want to are jealous of other people's sex lives or other people. Well, they'll use the excuse of God. God says so and so and so and so, and you just like, oh, piss off, you sad cunt. You know, I always see it with televangelists. People like, well, the funniest TV evangelist for me is Jim Bakker. This is a bloke who's been in prison for fraud, yet he still has a ministry. The government still lets him have ministries and sell people crap. Because he's in with all the Alex Jones prepper bullshit. Except for he sells buckets of food, which is barely food. It's mostly stuff you mix with water. You know, it's all freeze dried and tasteless, and it's goop. I've seen actual videos of people getting this stuff and making it well. They make it, and it's horrible. It looks like wallpaper based.
I hope the heroes kick your ass.
Yeah, there's no. It's a bottomless cavern of ignorance and stupidity and religion's involved. And it's just amazing to see how gullible people are, particularly in a time when we've got so much technology now. People still believe this old rubbish. But the ones that really make me laugh are the healers. Oh God, the amount of utter codswallop you get with healers. I follow some of them on Twitter. There's forgotten his name. He's fight with this bloke. Yeah, that didn't work. Nearby. Duel.
3, 2, 1, fight. You lose.
Bang.
What can I help you with?
Oh, is he oh, I don't know what he is. Sorry I've gone on quiet. I've never done those duels before, but you know. Let's open my doodle. No, I don't want PvP. Ugh. No. Oh God. I want to do the big events. They're the ones I like. Update queue. Oh yeah, I was talking about Ghostbusters. Yeah, I've over the weekend I saw some pretty lousy movies, but I haven't seen anything yet this year. Even Michael Bay's awful Last Night, what wasn't as bad as Ghostbusters. What was really annoying, I found though, about the whole Ghostbusters thing was how gullible the public were.
This is
and you still get it today with the
occasional
online feminist saying
Wildcat.
that the reason why that film wasn't a
Wildcat
massive
has
success
no metahuman powers, but remains a force to be reckoned
they
with.
still blame
Criminals are lucky
the
to make
fan
even
base,
one round against
that
this
it was all
burly
male
boxer.
fans who,
We asked how he would handle Brainiac and the
damaged
scores of new
the
villains.
credibility
His
of
response,
the movie, even
with
though
a
the movie had
1-2
no
punch.
credibility. It was as bad sequel as I could actually think.
Alone in blackest night. Accept our ring and join our fight. Love conquers all with violet light.
Oh, a violet one. It was so bad. a movie that I don't even understand how Sony. Well, I don't understand Sony's game plan at all. I don't know whether they're betting against themselves or something, but there doesn't seem to be any logic to the films that they release now. A lot of it's Adam Sandler crap, really terrible crap as well. Not like, you know, you can be a little bit forgiving of some movies that are bad. You know, but it was just dreadful. Just mind-numbingly dreadful as well. It wasn't entertaining, and it wasn't interesting. I need to change my face. There we go. I can look intimidating in my purple. Yeah, the only other time I can think of a sequel that was as bad as oh look, they've got some Sinestro called that was that bad was probably The Nutty Professor 2: The Clumps, that is memorable for me because I was with a friend and I had got very drunk the night before. I was a bit hungover and tired, and basically he'd had an argument with his wife and said, right, we got to go out and see something at the cinema. I was like, oh, alright then, okay. And we went, we were going to see something else. I can't even remember what it was. I think it was some action movie, but we got there too late, and he said, oh well, I don't want to go home, let's watch this. You know, we like the first Nutty Professor, because first Nutty Professor, not the original, I'm talking the
Get away!
The first one wasn't that bad, you know.
No, I need the money they were going to pay me for a pony for
Uncle
my
Pete,
daughter.
He's not a fan of American movies, and I took him to see the Nutty Professor. I said, I'm paying, don't worry, you don't have to pay. Because he was moaning, oh, I won't like this, and then there's that scene where they're around the dinner table farting, and he turned purple laughing, and I'd never heard him laugh so hard in my life. When they're all the bloke goes, oh, I farted too hard, and I need to go and change my underwear, and he was just falling about laughing. And he actually quite enjoyed it. But the Nutty Professor 2 was so bad that I fell asleep watching it. It was that boring. I got to the bit where he was farting in the spacesuit. And there was Star Wars jokes. But beyond that, I can't even remember what was going on. And I just got...
Black as night falls from the skies. The darkness grows as all light dies. We crave your hearts and your demise. By my black hand, the dead shall rise.
Oh. All the Black Lanterns. Supposedly, the big hoo-ha going on at the moment in DC Comics. I didn't really watch it. I didn't read it. I watched a video on YouTube. But supposedly the White Lantern, Carl Rayner, has lost his White Lantern powers, because he was basically like a god being, and they're reckoning it's all linked with Dr. Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan, even though I doubt that I doubt Alan Moore's going to write any of it, which is unfortunate, because well, it's quite funny. I'm a big fan of Watchmen.
The Daily Planet Live.
An amazing Watchmen was
Lois
based
Lane's live
mostly
broadcasts for what the rise of the new heroes and villains means to our world.
Fulton
Is it the
comics,
end,
that was what it was
or
called,
a new
Fulton.
beginning? Tune in now. The Daily
Rorschach
Planet, your
is
trusted
basically
news
the question,
source live,
but
online
an insane
and on
question.
newsstands around
with
the
elements
world.
of Batman. He's like Batman on a budget because he's unemployed. The Owl is the Blue Beetle. You don't have to be a genius to see it, because even his flying pod is exactly like the Blue Beetle's flying pod. Silk Spectre, well, there were a load of what was supposed to be Golden Age characters in that's what I like the most about Watchmen, is it has characters like the Comedian, who were like sort of the Golden Age characters, because you did have that with the in the DC universe. You had the Squadron, no, not Squadron Supreme, that was Marvel's version. Oh God, what were they called? Oh, the Justice Society of America, who weren't the Justice League. These were a separate entity that had been created back in the 1940s. It had characters like Hourman. But yeah, and Dr. Manhattan is a loosely based character on Captain Atom, because Captain Atom has similar powers over nuclear energy. But Dr. Manhattan's like a living god. But what was brilliant about the Alan Moore take on it was he was still a human being. He grows bored with everything because he can see everything. He can see the past and the future simultaneously, and he becomes so far from humanity that he doesn't really have any interest in humanity anymore. But you know, and people around him age, and he stays exactly the same. Exobytes. I've got to work out, you can actually artificially manage your exabytes so they give you more power and things like that, but I haven't worked out how to do that yet. I'm mainly flying around waiting for one of those missions to clock up, because I really like the missions. I like working in a team. Aha!
Mortal, I warn you, empathy can be a dangerous well, and has drowned many.
No. Well, that's not really meant me stuff. That might need someone else. I think it's Dr. Fate. I'll have a little fly around, see if I can find any more. So it's quite a big map. It's DC basically. This wasn't an original idea. This was like a DC variant of a concept that was created with City of Heroes, and then they had the add-on to that, City of Villains, that wasn't linked with DC or Marvel, but was a completely separate one with people with powers similar to main sort of characters. I remember seeing lots of people who'd modded their characters on City of Heroes so they actually look like DC and Marvel characters. Yeah, I want to do Area 51. This is Brainiac Attack. Corey Burton, I think the bloke's name is, who did the voice on Superman the Animated Series with Brainiac. But I was really, I didn't even know it was him at first till I sort of checked the wiki on it. But he also did the voice to the Red Tornado on my favourite. It's now my favourite DC animated show. Now I've watched the whole thing. Batman the Brave and the Bold. That I like the most because it is Silver Age characters, and it's got none of that depressing blackness that is so much in most modern DC productions now. I'm so sick and tired of it. It's what I like about Supergirl as well. Supergirl occasionally will have slightly dark characters, but it won't. It's not obsessed with it. It's also a story about a girl in the city who, you know, well, her disguise is that she's sort of a mouse type person, and there's elements of The Devil Wears Prada and that. I can't remember what that other show was. The one about the girl working in a fashion house.
Warning, critical failure, shutting down.
The first season had Callista Flockhart in it, being very, very funny, being very bitchy.
Energy source destabilized.
I was a bit gutted that she actually left the series, because I quite liked the balance, you know. It was a bit... Because... And they've had Superman in the new show, but from what I understand, they wanted to originally make a Superman TV show,
imminent.
but couldn't really do it on the budget they had, so they went with Supergirl instead. Which I've always been a fan of Supergirl, even the not very well made 1980s movie of Supergirl. I still watch it again and again and again. I don't know what it is as well, you know, there's not many female superheroes who I really like. Apart from maybe Huntress, I quite like. Red Sonja, I'm a fan of Red Sonja. Still after me. Even though she's completely psychotic. She's way sort of beyond what you consider sort of heroic characters, really. She fights evil things, but she chops people's heads off and all that. But I'm also a huge fan of Conan the Barbarian, you know. Conan the Barbarian, I'd actually say, is the best movie of a comic book character on screen, because lots of people completely miss that the 1981 film, if you read the 1970s comics of Conan, I can't remember what the name of the company was. I think it's Harrier it was called. And they made it, and it was full of sex and violence. Really great reading. You know, it was, unfortunately, Marvel got the rights after the movie, and they softened it a lot because, you know, little boys would be reading it. They want to be sort of kicked out every 5 minutes. But the 1970s comics were a lot more sexy and violent. I've got like it's like a best of sort of book, a graphic novel version, and you know, one of the covers to it had a crucified Conan, and you know, he saved, and they cut him down, and they're pulling the nails out of his feet. And he says, you're taking too long, give me the pliers, and he pulls them out himself because he's a really tough guy. But yeah, Sky Star. Razorus Primal is one character here, and he's definitely in the anti-hero because he's a Red Lantern. Red Lantern's power comes from rage. It's quite, I like. Actually, one of my favourite Red Lantern is a cat. He was like an alley cat who was mistreated, and he gains the Red Lantern power, and he's a bit of a psychopath because of it. But they're quite like an interesting sort of add-on to the whole mystique of the Lantern Corps. Even though I do get a bit annoyed with DC keeps changing things every 5 minutes. Here, you know, all these new 52s that keep popping out. That's why I don't really read modern comics anymore. I also get a bit sick and tired of obsessing over the neural cores, and you people like set them to your advantage. What's her name? Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn has sort of become DC's equivalent of Deadpool in the past couple of years, and it's a little bit boring. It's boring because when you've got the same character and it's overused again and again and again and again and again, a bit like Wolverine. I've gone completely off of Wolverine because it's just used too much, too many times, too many standalone movies. Because again, this won't be a popular view, but I didn't actually like the last Wolverine movie, Logan. I watched it at the cinema and it had positive things, especially Professor X in it. I like that. I like how, you know, he possibly killed all the other X-Men. I like that idea a lot, but they really didn't do anything with it. And his death seems so meaningless. You know, I was hoping it would be something like his death would be sacrificing his life for the others. A bit like, you know, Mr. Spock type death. But it wasn't even that. It was sort of a bit pointless. Just going to stand, you know, to death. I also found the concept of a clone of Logan a little bit ridiculous. And I found also that it wasn't a very uplifting movie. It's the same problem I had with the last X-Men movie, Apocalypse. I just found it. I was like, I just couldn't understand why I should really care about any of these characters. But you know, their lives didn't seem very important. Also, they bigged up Apocalypse a lot, but he didn't really do anything. You know, it's... The only thing I really liked about the last X-Men movie was Cyclops, who is actually one of my favourite X-Men characters. Especially after she was, she had a body switch. Because Betsy Braddock originally was Captain Britain's sister. She was just like a standard psychic. She was sort of a fill-in for Professor X, who disappeared at that time. But then they updated her and gave her the body of someone else. Psychic memory swap. And she looks like more hot. That's one of the other reasons why I used to read the X-Men comics back in the late 80s, early 90s, because you know, this Linkara's pointed this out on his show. You know, that nowadays you don't get sexy characters because we've got porn, which I find a little bit. I wish we had the sexy characters again. I liked the comic Gen 13 that had sexy characters in and stuff like that. It was a bit irreverent and jokey.
And its greater accumulators oversee the transfer.
Come on, Earthbound Angel, don't just sit there.
Not want to face this
what are you doing?
Alone. Once the accumulators are down and the kryptonite is safe, Oracle will hack the ship's teleporter so you can deactivate the Prime Servitor itself.
Nice. There we go. That's what I want to look cool. It's another Linkara line on it. Change my... kid. Oh. That's a lot of kryptonite for an element that's supposed to be really rare. Come on, DC, put out skin packs for Watchmen on this game. It's, I'd love to see a comedian body thing. maybe even some Watchmen missions, because there was a Watchmen computer game that I never really completed because it it came out at a time when there was a lot of other games out that I really was sort of, you know, you sometimes you got games, it's like games and movies. It's like a whole stack of movies on my Amazon Prime that I should be watching, but I never seem to get the time. You know, I've watched oh Christ, what's it? Bloody film. The Christopher Nolan film. That wasn't. It was also Christopher Nolan. I can't remember who made it, but basically it's that one with Matt Damon where he ends up on Mars. The Martian. I've had that on my Amazon Prime for like nearly a year and still haven't watched it. Don't worry guys, I'm coming. There's actually a character who looks a little bit like my character on the Venture Brothers.
Analyzing ability to resume.
Oh, I killed him. Yeah.
Negative.
Nice.
The victory is yours. Brainiac has failed to gain the green kryptonite. We will store it now at the Watchtower, where it can be properly guarded. The Justice League thanks you, and I will certainly contact you again. Martian Manhunter, out.
Okay, boss. Oh, got some nice boots. Some nice booties. Boy, do I look camp. I was actually before I've finally put Assassin's Creed into the I've loaded it up. Which one is it? Syndicate. But I'm too tired to play it. I just want to play this for a couple of hours. Whoop. Let's have a look at missions. Oh god, no, I don't want to join that fight. Bees on the moon. Bees on the moon. Who's that then? Oh, it's Lex Luthor. Yeah. It's funny how they changed Lex Luthor. Because originally he was just sort of like he was just a scientist. Help. Well, actually, originally Lex Luthor was supposedly a gorilla, and that the Ultra Humanite was the one who looked like a bald scientist, and there was a mistake or something that they made. That they got the names mixed up or something in one of the comics, and it just stuck from there that Lex Luthor was the scientist, the evil scientist, and not activate the mission. Alright, duty roster. Oh no, no. Oh, Oh. No, I don't want that. Ugh. It's like phone reminders. I got a new sort of phone because annoyingly my Twitter app keeps fucking up on my Xperia. And I wanted to get a spare phone as well. I'm going to look into getting a pay-as-you-talk
calm down.
Because I'm going to start dating again. And I don't want to give, because I've had submissive girlfriends in the past who go a bit loopy. I don't want to phone me every 5 minutes saying, you know, tell me I'm pretty, tell me I'm pretty, tell me how you want to tie me up and stick me in the boot of my own car. Stuff like that, and it can get a little bit, you know, if I'm at work, I'm trying to do something, like I'm trying to sort out travel arrangements for someone. The one thing I don't want is a submissive girl sort of phoning me up when I'm, because my concentration can wander anyway. But if she starts talking dirty to me when I'm actually doing my job, and I'm sitting down, I don't really want to get a piping great erection. Because, well, you know, I'm trying to stay focused on one thing.
Patterson's Journal, Type 6, morphogenetic field.
It's weird that, because I can watch a movie and listen to something else, or be on Twitter at the cinema, especially if it's a boring movie, like that Annabelle movie was so boring. But then, if it's someone talking to me, I lose track of what I'm doing.
Patterson's Journal, Type 3, ultra catabolism, potential energy manifestation applications.
I've been told. One of the problems with being autistic. A lot of autistic problems supposedly is to do with focus. But the mind wanders. There's actually some researchers who believe that autistic people are like an evolutionary thing. It's not something that is an irregularity because of but it's not like a damage.
Patterson's Journal, Type 1, gravitation desensitization, extremely common.
To evolution, they believe that it's actually a product of evolution. That human minds are becoming. But some autistic people I've met are amazing. They're like living computers. They can store memory much better than I can. I've got a photographic memory. I can't remember every book I've ever read. I had a friend at mental health group who was autistic, and it was amazing to watch. He used to suffer with depression because he wasn't really a functional autistic. He suffered with terrible depression because of his mother's death, because his brand of autism, and I've got some of it slightly, where I don't like change in my life. Change in my life can be frustrating and annoying. You know, it's not I burst into tears crying, but I don't like things being different, particularly in my workplace. I don't throw a tantrum like I've seen some people with autism, but I don't really like it when I get there and someone's been moving. I warned you! Oh, knock the air out of me. No one's going to help. Bugger. Yeah, I've had about. How can I explain this and not sound like a complete jerk? I've had in total 6 submissive girlfriends, because I'm a switch, and of them I think only 2 I'd want to sort of keep. I wanted it to keep going, but you know, they found they had to do other things, like one of the girls, she had to go and live abroad because her visa was running. So yeah, sadly that relationship couldn't continue because she was from Portugal. But yeah, I won't give out names because I don't want to dox anyone or whatever. But it was a really fun relationship. She was extremely kinky. It was very nice to have someone to. She come to my flat and have showers with me. So I was tired coming home from work. She'd jump into the shower with me and wash me down and all that. And would sometimes cook. But it was a great relationship, actually. But like I said, you know, I did say, you know, we could marry and all that, and she wasn't really keen on that idea because she didn't want to. She liked Britain, but didn't want to live here the rest of her life because she said it was too cold. That was the chair, not my arse. I've switched back to my leather chair because I'm still suffering with lots of problems with my tailbone. I've got like inflammation in the tailbone area, and it's not much fun. It's taking it. Well, the doctor reckons it could take up to a year to heal, which isn't fun at all.
Lois Lane reporting for Daily Planet Live. But, look up in the sky. Is it a bird, a plane, or one of the new heroes and villains battling the Brainiac threat? One thing is sure, even with the conflict between Superman and Lex Luthor, or Wonder Woman and Circe, the only enemy they all have in common is Brainiac.
Still hurts.
Stay tuned for more as the battle against this alien invader plays out.
When I'm in bed, which which is no fun at all when you're trying to sleep and your bottom feels like someone's hit it with a sledgehammer.
Metropolis University, the university of tomorrow. Hey, brah, if you have powers like mine, you'll want to check out LexCorp's all-new meta-powered student program with awesome speakers like Power Girl. Met You, the university for you.
This is Gotham Now, and I'm Vicky Vale. The menace known only as Brainiac has attacked our planet and bottled up our cities. He's leveling entire neighborhoods in his quest to regain the exobytes. Luckily, a whole new generation has risen to fight this menace. Some led by our own Batman and, believe it or not, the Joker. These are our best hope against the alien menace.
I'm so sick of Batman. I'm so sick of Dark Batman, I'll say. I like Silver Age Batman. I'm not a big fan of Golden Age Batman though. Golden Age Batman was a bit of a sadistic psychopath really. Something they... It's funny, I've actually wished that they made a Golden Age version of Batman for the cinema, where he's an out-and-out psychopath, because the one that we had in Batman vs Superman was slightly like it. Golden Age Batman carried guns though, and there was none of that weepy bullshit about, you know, I'll never use guns because guns are what was used to kill my parents and all that. None of that is in. There's the vow
Can a guy catch a break?
For vengeance, but there's not the I won't use guns. Even though the original Batman was a little bit of a rip-off of in the Golden Age, it was a rip-off of the Shadow. The Shadow used guns. Shadow would sometimes talk people into killing themselves. There's a particularly great episode of the radio version, because I've got the whole radio, the 1930s radio version on Audible, and he's dealing with a bloke who thinks that he can see right through the Shadow and isn't fooled by him. And the Shadow says, oh, I'll get you and all that, because you can't see him because he's got power of perception, and he can turn your perception of him off. So he appears to be invisible, but he's not really invisible. He's just fooling your mind with his psychic powers. Psychic and hypnotic powers, that's what the Shadow has. So all you see is his shadow. You're not perceiving him as he is. But in one story, he can't get the bloke because he can't prove he committed the crime. So he tricks this criminal into fools him with images of vehicles. So the bloke says, you can't fool me, Shadow. I've seen this trick before. And he goes and drives straight into a lorry. Because the Shadow kept projecting images in front of him. And the final image wasn't an image, it was actually a lorry. He crashes and gets killed. But the Shadow is quite a cool character though. I'm a big fan of the film version of the Shadow with Alec Baldwin. But that is the one film I really wish it had a sequel, because as well as being very stylish, I liked the characters in it, and it didn't rely solely on action. It had an element of mystery
indicate
about
you have
it
strong
really
exobyte gifted powers. Why do
and
you
it had
fight
a villain
me?
who, though
Your
he
gifts
was
are gifts from me.
quite
They
violent
came from my
and nasty,
future technology.
he was
You are a child of Brainiac.
He actually has scenes in it where he's quite likeable. There's a thing where he's the hero's talking to the villain, and he says, "Have you got any whiskey?" And they're drinking whiskey, and he actually compliments the Shadow, because the Shadow, before he returned to America, he became a warlord in China because of the trauma that he suffered from World War I. And the Shadow saves people's lives, and then he says, "Now your life is owned by me, and you'll become one of my agents." And you know, there was one of my favourite TV shows of the 90s. I used to watch on the old TVS, which is completely defunct now.
Happerson's Journal. Type 2 carbon crystallization susceptibility.
But they had a TV show called Stingray. Not to be mistaken with Stingray from Jerry Anderson. This Stingray was a show about a mysterious man who just helps people.
I am Jack
who
Ryder, and you
have no ability
wrong.
to
Why?
get help
Because of a purple
from
people eater named
regular
Parasite,
means.
friend. He can suck the life force out of everything from a Studebaker to Superman. Even a Kryptonian is no match for Parasite's pain drain.
Metropolis University, the University of Tomorrow. Paging all jocks, LexCorp has sponsored an all-new training program down at the Metrodome. Go team! Met you, the university for you.
Yeah, and the only reason why it's called Stingray is that he drove a Stingray car. That his identity was unknown. There was even an episode where people thought they knew his identity, and it turned out to be a lie as well. And it's just he's like a mysterious character who you don't know anything about him. It's a little bit like Doctor Who in many ways, in that people barely know anything about how the Doctor became the way he is, and why he helps people, and why he's a good person. It's what I like about the Doctor Who
Some
books,
of you may recognize me. They call me Superman.
Some of them theorised that the
Before
Doctor
I return to the Watchtower,
was way more than
let
he
me
appeared
introduce
to
my
be,
cousin,
that he was
a member of the
actually,
JSA, who you may recognize
a
as well.
major
Power Girl.
luminary in
This is Power Girl.
Time Lord Society, like Rassilon or Omega, and that he was the other, which was
this is Lois
one
Lane
of
with
the
Daily
other
Planet
founders.
Live. The Metropolis
Time Lord
Police
Society.
Department announced today the
But
formation of a new
after
superpowered
Omega
police force
ends
under the
up
command
in
of
an
Captain Maggie
anti-Nazi
Sawyer.
universe,
Happerson's Journal.
he
Translocational
feels
capability.
threatened,
Extremely
so
rare.
he escaped from Rassilon, who some people believe was actually a madman, he wanted to be a living god, having eternal regenerations. Oddly, they don't really cover that very well in the TV show, the new one. I felt that particularly Timothy Dalton was really wasted, which is a shame, because if you get someone as great an actor as Timothy Dalton, you just waste him. It's a bit pointless. But Yeah, the Time Lords had these devices called looms that was a way of reproducing, and it would take the genes of Time Lords and splice them together, and the other purposely jumped into one of these things, and his molecular structure was all thrown about, and the other was the grandfather of Susan, who was basically the Doctor's first companion. And when the other emerged from the loom as the Doctor and was completely different from how he was before, Susan recognises him, but that's where it all gets a bit weird, and he escapes from Gallifrey with the Hand of Omega, which was this remote stellar manipulator that the Time Lords had already used to create the Eye of Harmony, which is their power source. And he takes it because he knows it's too dangerous to stay on Gallifrey, because Gallifreyan society would be corrupted by the use of the thing. So a little bit of a play on the idea of nuclear weapons, that nuclear weapons that
This is Lois Lane for
the
Daily Planet
Americans
Live.
had nuclear weapons
Just blocks from the Metropolis
first,
Metrodome,
and
where
one of the
LexCorp, Star Labs,
excuses, the
and the Hive
Rosenbergs
are at war.
went and gave the secret
The Hive
to
is
the
led by their
atomic bomb
Queen
to the
Bee,
Russians.
an alien princess from the planet
What
Coral,
they were
who
really
uses her mind
worried
control
about,
pollen to swell her insectile
whether they were
ranks.
correct or
The
not,
JLA is
was they
advising
didn't
all
want
citizens to stay out of the
America
area
alone
until
to
further
have
notice.
nuclear weapons,
More
because
as
it
the
would
story
corrupt
progresses.
them, and it would make them as bad as the Nazis, because the Nazis were trying to get a nuclear bomb way before the Americans, and it was mainly because of their pig-headedness about the Jewish community. Actually spelt the end of their ability to get a nuclear program working, because lots of the nuclear scientists like Albert
Chief
Einstein,
Researchers General, this heart is a telltale example of our profound work.
He could measure things like molecular weights and all that, so you could make the critical nuclear reaction for an atomic bomb. You know, his maths went into the whole thing, but because of the horrible way that the Jews were treated in Europe, he went to America, and I'm sure the Germans were kicking themselves, but basically the person they had in charge of their version of the nuclear, their version of the Manhattan Project was Heisenberg. He of the often quoted Breaking Bad line, and he wasn't. He had a very good understanding.
Do you have time to help me? LexCorp's gladiator suits are running off a highly unstable
like
power
that,
cell. We believe it's based on stolen Star Labs research, but with a fatal flaw. Can you collect those power cells carefully?
Yeah, he had an understanding of the concepts. He just wasn't very good at the execution. were basically saved because of his lack of understanding.
I'm hit.
But it came very close, supposedly. If it hadn't been for Britain and the attacks on the German dams that were creating heavy water, the German nuclear program would have probably been completed by 1944. Supposedly their first target wasn't Britain, it would have been New York City. But they would threaten American cities, so America would pull out the war.
Go ahead, punk.
And I, from what I understand about manpower, how many Germans there were, particularly with their conflict with Russia, it would be unlikely that America would be taken over by the Nazis. There's a stronger possibility that part of America would be taken over by Russia and the Japanese. But Germany weren't really interested in America because America didn't really have much to offer. They were more interested in securing Britain in the Reich, because had they taken over Britain, that would have included the British Empire and all the British imperial states of India. You know, once you've got India, you've got the whole Asian continent. But I do find it very interesting. What if the Germans had won the war? Some people reckon that it wouldn't have lasted, but fascism, like communism, it's too quick to single out a group of people, and it actually leads to its undoing.
Where'd he go?
Because
get him out of my head.
it doesn't have longevity. Communism, yes, there is the same amount of death, depending on who's leading. If you've got a benevolent communist leader, the death numbers are going to be a lot lower than if you've got someone like Joseph Stalin, who's a paranoid lunatic. I'll give this another 20 minutes and then I'm going to go to bed. I'm a bit tired. Let's choose that. And
it's go time.
You've got to stop him.
Fuck, press the wrong button. High above the city. Confirmed. Yeah. Oh. Oh. This is the Ultra Humanite. I was talking earlier about, Lex Luthor originally was the Ultra Humanite, the assistant, the Ultra Humanite. But then they altered it by accident and had Luthor be Lex Luthor, because he was just called Luthor originally, and he was basically the assistant to the Ultra Humanite. He did appear in Justice League, but I think for only one episode. I'm not sure about that. I think it was only one episode. But he was sort of, he had a voice very similar to...
now to set the detonation timers on the missiles. The moment they are set, get yourself out of the area. Your final mission will be to deal with Ultra Humanite himself.
Orson Welles. He sounded like Orson Welles. And it was quite funny as well with the plot line that he was with the Flash. It's a Christmas episode. It's quite unique for Justice League at that time as well, because most of the Justice League cartoons were two-parters. And this
10 seconds to detonation.
The one part.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
But your path ends here, for I possess the Fists of Fury.
Ultra Humanite is well protected in the command bridge of the alien vessel. You will have to stand against his toughest guards. Capture him before he can escape the island.
Once my Ultra Sustainer turrets are active, nothing will stand in my way.
Where the fuck is everyone? Oh, there we go. Whoa.
Dunce! If Grodd couldn't keep me from this technology, you never will! Prepare to fight. Don't strain your intellect. Surrender. A room temperature IQ. I prefer brain over brawn. But for now, brawn must suffice. You have an IQ of 2, but it takes 3 to scream in pain!
see Grodd's face when I triumph, where he failed. The turrets are compromised. Repair those turrets. I need everything quickly. Myself. Let me be clear. Repair those turrets or face my wrath. Let me be clear. Repair those turrets or face my wrath. Guards, I require your immediate assistance with these intruders. Repair those turrets immediately. Your immediate assistance with these intruders. Guards, I require your immediate assistance with these intruders. The turrets are compromised. Repair them. Quickly! Guards, I require you to retreat! The Ultra-Humanite has been defeated! I admit defeat for now, but I have one last triumph. That should put an end to Ultra-Humanite's plans to ultra-humanize the planet. Were I Ultra-Humanite, I would fear Gorilla Grodd's retribution far more than punishment at the Justice League's hands. You have done well. Martian Manhunter out.
Well, that was a bit disappointing. I let's see if I can activate another one. It's a bit disappointing because I didn't play it from the start. I just sort of played it halfway through. For a police. Oh, anyway. Oh, I was talking with some bloke called Pascal on Twitter earlier. I watched a video, I've had a conversation with Tonka, and he said, kept going on about some bloke called Pascal. I wasn't sure what he was talking about at first. Thought Pascal, it's just some sort of atheist thing. He was like, oh no, he's an SJW, and you know, I was interested. I watched the debate. It wasn't great, and I think part of the problem was the bloke himself. He didn't seem to realise what sort of, you know, that there's certain ways that you talk about people and certain ways you don't talk about people. And what he pretty much was saying was that Sargon of Akkad, who I'm not a big fan of Carl Benjamin at all. I find
Star Labs' goal is to keep our allies equipped with the most advanced
Carl
technologies.
Benjamin is a closet neoconservative.
Keeping your equipment in good working order makes all the difference, as well as making sure you've got the latest, greatest gear.
If you've got an understanding of neoconservatism like I do, a lot of the stuff he says is very Leo Strauss. Straussian dialect. Well, he takes elements of Strauss's ideas of patriotism as necessary and seems to run away with it a little bit, and also has a tendency to try and scapegoat the whole of the left, not just selective about the most crazy elements of the left, which I do find a little bit dishonest. Yeah, and I watched the stream, and you know, I've been hair dried. Well, not literally, because we're in two different places, but I've had people.
3, 2, 1, fight.
You know, I've had sort of Tonka being a bit hot with me, and it didn't feel too nice. I think that Pascal's problem was that he wouldn't admit he wouldn't admit that what he said was a little bit too far. And you know, we had a Twitter conversation, and I said, you know, I'd be willing to do a stream with him or something. He has said that he doesn't actually want to do a stream with someone he doesn't really know that well. And I was like, oh, but he sort of pointed me in the direction of another stream that I should have a go with, see if I can get on. Yeah, I don't think he's going to sort of. I think he's a bit belligerent, and he did say that he's. Well, I heard that Tonka had blocked him. No, he blocked Tonka. You know, some people just don't get on with each other. I've had lots of arguments over the years on Twitter with people who I just don't get on with. A lot of even people on the left who sometimes will be a little bit hyperbolic.
You lose.
Damn! Shitty damn. Yeah. But yeah, I'm willing to talk to people. Some people, it'd be a mistake for me to talk to. like racists. I can't stand people who are racist or bigoted or homophobic.
Sound the alarm.
I'll listen to Christians. I've talked to Christians in the past. Back before I was an atheist, I used to talk to a lot of Christians about faith. But I like chatting. I think also part of the problem is my job. I don't actually get to talk to people talk to me, usually that they're angry or upset about things, and it does get on your nerves a little bit after a while, especially if they're very rude as well, you know, no please, no thank you, talk to you like a piece of shit, which I've had happen lots of times recently. I helped a bloke out who couldn't speak a lot of English, admittedly, with what part of a train to be on, because the platform he wanted was a short platform. I advised him on what time to come back so he doesn't miss the last train, things like that. And he didn't even say thank you. And I was like, well, oh, fuck you, mate. You know, I get a bit sick of going that extra mile and getting not even a, oh, thanks, in return. I remember one day I helped a woman with a load of luggage, an absolute fuck ton of luggage. And she didn't even thank me. And I was like, oh, fuck you, bitch. You know, I didn't have to go out of my way. I didn't have to drop everything to help you with bloody 8 bags of crap. And not even to say thank you. You know, it's rudeness and ignorance. I don't get angry at work, but in my head I'm sort of bringing out the barbed wire baseball bat. I get that way as well sometimes when people say that, you know, liberalism, oh, you must be a right wing. I'm like, nah, it doesn't work that way. Just because I believe in a welfare state and helping the poor doesn't mean that I'm going to just sit there and let you slap me around. You know, I have teeth, I have a sense of honour, I have a sense of what's known as primal justice. So if someone starts pushing me around and they're a bully, expect me to kick them usually on the inner thigh so their leg goes dead, take them down and then start twisting the old ankle joints. I'm not a violent person who seeks violence, but if you start a scrap with me, I am going to hit back. Well, actually I don't hit, I'm only shot. If you've got an open hand
nothing can prevent our victory
attack, I think it's called Pancross. It was a type of martial art. I was quite a fan of it back in the 90s in Japan, where they wouldn't punch, they'd slap. You couldn't punch, you couldn't hit people with a closed hand. It was like an open hand attack, but if you chop someone in the right place on the side of their head, just below the ear, they're going to go down like a ton of bricks. It's more effective than actually punching someone on the chin. If you punch someone on the chin wrong, break your hand. But if you slap them just below the ear, their equilibrium's completely bust. They'll sort of go like wet toilet paper, and you can start working away on those shoulders,
fighting style is
or the
by
neck,
my fierce
or the
you cannot hope to best
leg.
me, but I encourage you to try.
Oh.
Nicely done. We've received the teleported crates. Be on guard. The enemy is bound to respond to your actions aggressively. Ultra-Humanites missiles are pointed right at Metropolis, so you must find the system launchers and change the target coordinates to this alien ship. Then free Ultra-Humanites' unfortunate test subjects, so they may flee before it is too late.
Am I glad to see you?
Yeah, this is a better game I like when you're in a big team. My favourite team game is Left 4 Dead 2. So I just wish that Sony would re-release Left 4 Dead 2 on the PS4, because it's just such an epic game, and it's so much fun, particularly when you've got a really sort of effective team who listens to what you say. Zoe is my favourite female computer game character. As well as being really intelligent and sweet, and like the sort of, well, if you play,
please help.
It's what really annoyed me about Anita Sarkeesian's rubbish about no strong female characters. I'm like, you've obviously never played Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2, because the women in both those games are, well, Zoe in Left 4 Dead, she's like the leader of the team. She's not like some sort of bimbo. And I can't remember what the name of the character is in Left 4 Dead 2, but she's pretty damn cool as well. You know, under pressure.
You're about to become ultra-human!
Try to hit. Laugh this up, monkey boy. Yeah. Got you my laser vision. My solo polo vision. Okay. Gotta get those question marks. Whew.
You should have stayed in your mindless shopping malls, humans. This is no place for your stunted intellects.
Yeah, I've got no doubts if I had superpowers, I'd definitely be a hero. I couldn't be a superhero. Maybe an anti-hero, but definitely on the side of protecting the public. Maybe even protecting the public from millionaire, corrupt Wall Street people.
The missile site is
like
near.
I said, I don't like greed. I don't like greed, and I don't like
throughout the area. Hurry! The ultra-humanite already has most of the island's population under his control.
Well, the news today about this whole thing with Trump basically being needlessly vicious to a group who can't speak for themselves. I just find it petty and pathetic. Particularly when you look into his family history about how members of his family escaping persecution. Well, there's even some questions about that. To be so anti the spirit of what America is as a country, I just find it a bit... I find it weak sauce. I think it's quite cowardly as well. But I find Trump... I find him pathetic in a way that it's hard to describe. I've got... Well, my theory is that he's senile, that he doesn't really know what he's talking about most of the time. That, you know, I think he left it too late to run for presidency, personally. I think he should have, if he was so serious about it, he should have run, like, back in the 90s. Like lots of people said he should have back in the 90s, but he didn't. Oh, fuck. Come on, come on. You know, he says so many things that's just so stupid. That and a lot of the most ridiculous stuff he said has turned out to be lies or exaggerations. I still can't believe that he got away with all that shit about, oh, there were Muslims cheering. I'm like, yeah, there were Muslims cheering, but most of them were in the bloody Middle East. Oh, but they were in Brooklyn. I was told. And then he tried to pass the buck on that and then claimed, oh, well, it was fake news and all this shit. And like, oh, for fuck's sake. Got no respect for the press at all. Well, actually, he's trying to bring in laws like they got in the UK. Slander laws. But and what's amazing is how many gullible idiots, especially... well, even people who are on the right wing saying, oh, well, yeah, he's got a point. So you want to go down the road of every other country in the world when you built in your Bill of Rights, freedom of speech being the #1 right. You just want to get rid of that because some people said mean things about a horrible fucking bully like Trump. Oh God, what fucking Well, Trump's lucky in many ways to be a businessman in the 80s, because if it had been 100 years earlier and he came into conflict with Teddy Roosevelt, he wouldn't have lasted a second. He's just lucky that when he became a businessman, you had Ronald Reagan in charge, who was pro-business. Because Roosevelt was opposed to the big business having the power over government, and I'm with him now. I don't think that business should have powers over the government. I think the government should rule. And
now to set the detonation timers on the missiles. The moment they are set, get yourself out of the area. Your final mission will be to deal with Ultra Humanite himself.
There's a shoulder thing. Got my equipment's falling to pieces according to this. Back to the hand blasts.
Ten seconds to detonation. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You have defeated the others, but your path ends here. For I possess the Fists of Fury!
What's the rest of the team?
Ultra Human!
Damn! Stop shooting me, you bastards.
The Ultra Humanite is well protected in the command bridge of the alien vessel. You will have to stand against his toughest guards. Capture him before he can escape the island.
Once my Ultra Sustainer turrets are active, nothing will stand in my way. Dunce! If Grodd couldn't keep me from this technology, you never will! I'd love to see Grodd's face when I triumph, where he failed. You don't even know the square of pi, you fool!
Hey.
Salvage. I prefer brain over brawn to be extreme. Now brawn must suffice. A room temperature ice. Guards, I require your immediate assistance with these intruders.
Damn, I'm trying to get them in
The
Navy
turrets
boy.
are compromised. Repair them quickly. Let me be clear. Repair those turrets or face my wrath. It takes 3 to scream in pain.
Must I do everything myself?
Repair those turrets immediately. Guards, I require your immediate assistance with these intruders. Guards, I require your immediate assistance with these intruders. Let me be clear. Repair those turrets or face my wrath. Guards, I require your immediate assistance with these intruders. Retreat! The Ultra-Humanite has been defeated! I admit defeat for now, but I have one last triumph.
That should put an end to Ultra-Humanite's plans to ultra-humanize the planet. Were I Ultra-Humanite, I would fear Gorilla Grodd's retribution far more than punishment at the Justice League's hands. You have done well. Martian Manhunter out.
Oh, I think we're all lanterns of some sort. Oh no, he's not. Beast X. Dale Garrett. Looks like a Malisaur from Malisa from the Keep. That's a Michael Mann film that he sort of doesn't talk about. He doesn't talk about it because it bombed, and Michael Mann's never touched any anything else but like crime movies since then. It's a shame 'cause it's a really good movie. It's like a horror with
keeping your equipment in good working order makes all the difference, as well as making sure you've got the latest, greatest gear.
It's a bit of an odd film, but it's interesting because it's got people in it who would become bigger stars later on in their career, like Gabriel Byrne and what's his name? Bloke plays Gandalf. I can't remember his bloody name. It was also Magneto. No. This is what it's like when you get to a certain age. Your memory has a wander off, and you can't remember what you were talking about. Oh, I was talking about girlfriends, wasn't I? Oh, God. Submissive girlfriends can be either really fun or a real headache. Because some are fun in that they can be really kinky and enjoyable to be with, but then you get the occasional girl who becomes a little bit obsessive. That, and on the third date they're talking about marriage, and I'm like, oh, whoa there. Not that if I met the right person, I'd definitely get married. It's just that, you know, if it's the third date, it's a little bit sort of a shock. You know, it's wedding bells and stuff like that. When you sort of hardly know each other, I find a bit of a mistake. I've got many friends whose marriages didn't last, sort of on their second and third marriages, because they met someone for, oh, we're perfect together, and then they sort of left it too late when they're in the actual marriage to realise that they don't have a heck of a lot in common, and usually the little things that annoy each other become bigger and bigger. Right, I think I'm going to go to the watchtower. The meta wing, because my character, even though he hasn't got any superpowers, hand blasts and a ring, he's still classed as a meta-human.
This is it.
Actually, I'd argue that the Lanterns aren't meta-humans, that they'd be more
Green
like
Lantern John Stewart drew up the plans. He's an architect. Just follow your mini-map and activate the consoles. I'll tell you about the place.
We've done some research with Superman over the years. We don't know everything, but we've been able to develop some good stuff. Check it out.
Oh, I've got itchy here. Oh, I need to buy one of those funny little Star Labs doohickeys. I suppose all this requires level 30. Let's have a look at me. Oh no, no! Fart. No, piss off. Back.
We've done some research with Superman over the years. We don't know everything, but we've been able to develop
I'm very excited about some of Star Lab's new developments. I'm sure you'll see something useful.
The Justice League Watchtower was specially designed to help heroes meet and get the equipment they need. But it's an unwritten JLA rule that you must gain renown with factions before you can obtain their exclusive gear. Our goal is to create solidarity with the entire hero cause.
Right. Delete. Oh, here's the bank thing. So I can put stuff. Oh no, that's not it. That's letters. Must be the end one. Ah, yeah, it's a vault. Because I've got a load of these things, but I haven't worked out how to use them either. And I've got loads of stuff that's locked away because I'm at too low a level to use them, which is a bit frustrating. Yeah, I have to go to bed in the next 10 minutes. Day Meta Wing. There we go. The mission's basically to look at these TV sets.
If you're working with Superman, then the Meta Wing was designed for you. You'll be spending a lot of time here with other meta heroes like the Flash and Power Girl. Check out the vendor's console for specialized meta-human strength equipment. With your superpowers, you'll need gear that can take as much punishment as you do.
Well, supposedly Batman, I haven't actually read the comic. I've got to read it at some point. Because,
This is it, the Watchtower. We've retrofitted it a bit for all
Batman's
you new
a member of the
heroes.
Sinestro
Green
Corps.
Lantern John Stewart drew up the plans. He's an architect.
I was confused
Just
at
follow your
first
mini-map
about it,
and
but then
activate
it
the
sort of
consoles.
made sense.
I'll tell you about the place.
Batman's major power is that he
The Justice League Watchtower was specially designed to help heroes meet and get the equipment they need. It's an unwritten JLA rule that you must gain renown
basically
with
he
factions
makes
before you can obtain their exclusive
his enemies
gear.
frightened
Our
of
goal is
him
to create solidarity with the entire hero cause.
using theatrics.
The Justice League Watchtower was specially designed to help heroes meet and get the equipment they need.
God's sake, woman,
It's an
shut
unwritten
up.
JLA rule that you must gain renown with factions before you can obtain their exclusive gear. Our goal is to create solidarity with the entire hero
shut
cause.
up, I know that. God's sake. What about repeating yourself a bloody 100 times? Yeah.
Each wing in the Watchtower has its own bank. Wayne Enterprises, Queen Industries, and others all contribute to a fund that rewards heroic activity and provides this secure storage for your gear. Welcome to the Watchtower's central hub. You can get to just about anywhere in the Watchtower from here. All 3 wings, the mailboxes, the monitor room, and the war room. The Watchtower itself is visible from Earth and maintains multiple security measures to keep the society and villains at bay.
I wonder what he's selling. He's a big boy. Wonder what the Watchtower's made of. Because it looks like metal, but you know, the major problem with having a space station like the Watchtower in the DC universe, I can understand,
represents
is
the hub,
the
core of the Watchtower, seat of heroic action for Earth.
One of the major dangers of having anything in orbit is, particularly if you've got anything violent on board, is gravitational stabilization. Meaning that if you keep bashing things into the side of a space station, you could actually knock it back into the atmosphere of a planet. That it's a very precision oriented. Oh, can't speak. Precision oriented. Precision orientated. I think that's the word. Orientated thing that you can't just bash away and end up. You know, you could. Well, this is one of the questions I had to Richard Garriott about the International Space Station. Well, there's Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Superman's for metas, even though he's not really a meta-human because he's an alien. Batman is for gadgets and technology. And Wonder Woman is for magic. which sort of makes sense. Even though she's not a massively magical character, there's lots more magical heroes in the DC universe. Really, I'd have thought Dr. Fate would have been a better choice for magic, but I suppose it's the popularity stuff. I'm still hoping that one day they'll have a sequel to this game, maybe an updated version. You know, and one that you could visit other planets, like Krypton, and deal with villains like Mongol, who is one of my favourite DC baddies. But it's funny, MMOs don't usually have sequels. The only one I can remember was The Legend of Mir, that was a sequel to another game. I can't even remember what the first one was. But that was all a 2D graphically done thing. See, this is a watchtower up in space. Oddly looking, slightly like a Trade Federation ship. I suppose it's further enough out to not get caught in a gravity well, but it's still pretty big to be in right on the doorstep of the Earth. Amazon Fury Teleport Hub. Wonder where that goes. Ah. Oh, I see something. See, the robots, I think they're from Superman, because Superman has robots in his oh, you bastard. Yeah, Superman has robots in the Fortress of Solitude. I'm quite a fan of Superman because of the morality of Superman. I think he's a very good moral character, particularly for children, because Superman has the power to rule over the Earth, and they've played with that idea with Justice Lord's Superman and Superman in the Injustice storyline. You know, a Superman who just turns bad, and it's interesting in that you've got DC characters as well who are Kryptonians as well, like General Zod, which sadly they've never really picked up on film. Apart from maybe Superman 2's sort of there, but it doesn't really play with it to the level that I wish it would. It's one of the things that I do find funny about people who criticise Superman 4, in that Nuclear Man in it,
this is where the Martian
it's a bit crap, and some of the special effects in the film are a bit stupid. But the one thing I will say for Superman 4 is, unlike the fight in
only official Justice League members can
1, 2, and
enter the hall.
3, at least it's seen as a global thing. It's not limited to just Metropolis, which a lot of superhero films do. It limits Superman to one place. It's one of them. There's a whole myriad of things that about Man of Steel and Superman vs. Batman. I could sort of list them off in the thousands, the things that really annoy me about that film. I actually think the biggest mistake was giving it to Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder, he can direct well. His remake of Dawn of the Dead, I'm a huge fan of, but he isn't really he's better as a horror director than as a heroic director, because he does have he doesn't really have the sensibilities or the morality that is needed to make a decent Superman. You know, he's not a moral person like, say, Richard Donner, who I think made the best Superman film, because he was very focused on making where am I going here? He was very focused on having Superman be a moral figure, which I think made a lot of sense. Certainly made a lot more sense than what he's like in Batman vs Superman, which he seems to be all over the fucking shop. That, and he didn't have enough lines. I don't know why Zack Snyder suddenly got a woody about Batman. Unless he's got it into his head that he wanted to make something that could be compared to Christopher Nolan's Batman. And Christopher Nolan's Batman and Zack Snyder's Batman, they're not even in the same level of oh, there you go, I found it. Christopher Nolan's Batman, he's clever. He did the same trick that they've done with Captain America movies.
Talk to Beast Boy for access to the simulator where you can practice
the
other
Batman
hero and
movies
moves.
really aren't
Ambush Bug
Batman
takes care of our vault
movies.
traps.
It sounds bonkers, but they're not. The first movie, Batman Begins, is more of a challenge of a hero story. That, you know, a hero who wants revenge, but then realises revenge isn't what he wants. That he will not kill just for petty vengeance. And it's strange because there's many martial arts films that have a similar plot line, and ninja movies. So really, Batman Begins is a ninja story, or even a samurai. It's not really a superhero film. And I love it. I think it's up there with Dark Knight, definitely. Dark Knight Rising is the only one of the three films that I have real problems with because of, well, as I explained, Dark Knight is not really, again, is not a superhero film. It's a terrorism film. Explaining, it's a nihilist terrorism.
You're now at the Watchtower
Funny,
reactor core.
I had that
Starlab's
massive falling out
firestorm
with
rigged it to power
Ali
the
Watson,
if you're looking to
and
immediately take out some villains,
my whole
you'll find
point was
Hawkman and
I was
Cyborg
trying
here
to
with the
explain
latest
to her
intel.
again and again. She wouldn't have it because she's a bit of an idiot. that
thanks for checking in.
The reason why we can't just go around shooting
maybe
people
when you get a little more experience under your belt,
including Antifa, is simple. Because if that happens and people can get away with it, where does this lead? Does this lead to everyone deciding, oh, well, I don't like the president, so I'll shoot him. I don't like my neighbour, the way he cuts his grass, I'll just shoot him. You know, once you open Pandora's box, you're not going to be able to close it. And then you'll end up with like a Wild West, where anyone can shoot anyone they don't like. And then you're basically to the level of places like Rwanda. Well, not, oh shit, I'm lost now. Oh, fuck. Oh, bollocks. Oh. No, nothing down here. Yeah, you're at a level where anyone can kill anyone, and the rule of law is completely vanished by then. It's funny because it's how I've spoken with anarcho-capitalists who I think are the worst of the worst. Antifa are pretty...
Always nice to pass through the aquacultural area.
Anarcho-capitalists,
a little green spot in the midst of this gigantic satellite. This is where we keep Star Labs recalibrating
they're living in a fairy tale
devices,
world where capitalism will solve all the problems.
Take a look.
And you don't need governments telling you what to do. Everyone should pay for their own. And it's ridiculous. Nice duds, dude.
So what'll it be today? Looking to change the look? A new do?
No.
What'll it be?
Whoa. Oh. That bloke, he looks like bloody Will Smith in Suicide Squad. Blech.
Each piece of enhanced battle armor is available in multiple combat roles and customizable colors.
That was a terrible movie. Really.
Have a fine day, combatant.
Suicide Squad. Ugh. See, my big fear about the whole Antifa thing, and I did explain this to that Pascal bloke, my biggest fear about the whole, where it can lead, Red Hood, doesn't look a lot like that. If I can challenge him to Red Hood. Duel! I'm calling out, buddy.
3, 2, 1, fight! Win.
Yay! I won for once. Anyway, I'm going to call it quits. I'll probably talk about some other twaddle. Actually, I need to sit down at some point and talk about John Carpenter movies. Because got a lot to say about John Carpenter. I have to sit down with a list though, because my memory's not that great. I know his first movie was Dark Star, but Dark Star wasn't actually... It wasn't intended to be a cinema release movie, it was actually a student movie. Anyway, I'm going to stop there, because I'm a bit fagged out. Tippy ho!